If there is one battle that captures the raw brutality, courage, and grim determination of World War II, it is Iwo Jima. This was not a battle fought for glory or conquest. It was a fight for survival, strategy, and psychological dominance, waged on a tiny volcanic island that most of the world had never heard of before 1945. Yet what happened on Iwo Jima would echo through history, shaping the final months of the war and redefining modern warfare. Picture this: black volcanic sand that swallowed boots with every step, an island honeycombed with tunnels, and an enemy that refused to surrender. The Battle of Iwo Jima was not a clash of armies meeting face to face. It was a nightmare of hidden guns, sudden ambushes, and relentless combat where every yard of ground was paid for in blood. By the time it ended, Iwo Jima would become one of the most iconic and tragic symbols of the Pacific War. This is the story of that battle, from its strategic importance to its human cost, and why its legacy still matters today.
Iwo Jima is a small island, barely 8 square miles, located roughly halfway between Japan and the Mariana Islands. On a map, it looks insignificant. In reality, it was a critical military objective. For the United States, Iwo Jima offered 2 major advantages: airfields for fighter escorts and an emergency landing site for damaged bombers returning from raids over Japan. At the time, American B-29 bombers were conducting devastating attacks on Japanese cities. However, these bombers flew long distances without fighter protection for much of the journey. Iwo Jima, if captured, would allow U.S. fighters to escort bombers all the way to Japan and back. It would also serve as a refuge for crippled aircraft and wounded crews. For Japan, losing Iwo Jima meant losing a vital early warning station and another step closer to invasion. The island was a shield protecting the Japanese mainland. Its defense became a matter of national survival. By 1945, Japan knew it could not win the war in the traditional sense. Its navy had been shattered, its air power depleted, and its resources exhausted. Instead, Japanese leaders adopted a grim new strategy: make every battle so costly that the United States would reconsider invading Japan itself. Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi was placed in charge of defending Iwo Jima. Unlike many commanders before him, Kuribayashi rejected the idea of a suicidal beach defense. He knew that charging into machine gun fire would only lead to quick annihilation. Instead, he turned Iwo Jima into a fortress. Kuribayashi ordered the construction of an underground labyrinth stretching more than 18 miles. Bunkers, pillboxes, artillery positions, and command centers were carved into the volcanic rock. Every position was designed to support another, allowing defenders to withdraw, regroup, and counterattack from unexpected angles. Most importantly, Kuribayashi forbade banzai charges. His goal was not honor in death, but maximum destruction of the enemy. Every American killed on Iwo Jima was, in his mind, a step closer to saving Japan from invasion. On February 19, 1945, the U.S. Marines landed on Iwo Jima. The invasion force was massive, supported by one of the heaviest naval bombardments in history. For days, battleships and aircraft pounded the island. Many American commanders believed that little resistance remained. They were wrong. As the first Marines hit the beaches, they encountered almost no fire. This silence was deceptive. The black sand made movement slow and exhausting, and vehicles quickly became stuck. Then, suddenly, the island erupted. From hidden positions, Japanese artillery, mortars, and machine guns unleashed a devastating barrage. The beaches became killing zones. Marines had little cover, and the volcanic ash offered no protection. Casualties mounted rapidly.
Every advance inland was met with fierce resistance. Japanese soldiers emerged from tunnels to attack, then vanished back underground. Flamethrowers, grenades, and close-quarters combat became the only way to clear fortified positions. At the southern end of Iwo Jima rose Mount Suribachi, a dormant volcano that dominated the battlefield. Capturing it was essential, as it housed observation posts directing artillery fire across the island. After days of brutal fighting, U.S. Marines reached the summit on February 23rd. There, they raised the American flag. The moment was captured in one of the most famous photographs ever taken, instantly becoming a symbol of sacrifice and victory. However, the flag raising marked only the beginning, not the end. While Mount Suribachi fell, the northern part of the island remained fiercely contested. The hardest fighting was still to come. Unlike traditional battles, Iwo Jima had no clear front line. The enemy could be anywhere. Marines described the island as alive, with gunfire erupting from the ground itself. Every ridge, crater, and cave had to be assaulted individually. Japanese defenders fought with patience and discipline. Snipers waited for hours before firing. Small units launched surprise attacks at night. Booby traps and concealed mines added to the danger. American forces adapted through hard experience. Tanks with flamethrowers were used to clear bunkers. Infantry learned to work in tightly coordinated teams. Progress was slow, measured in yards rather than miles. The psychological toll was immense. Exhaustion, fear, and constant danger pushed men to their limits. Many Marines later said Iwo Jima was the worst experience of their lives. By the time the battle officially ended on March 26, 1945, the scale of the losses stunned the world. Nearly 7,000 Americans were killed and over 19,000 were wounded. More than 1/4 of all Marines who fought on Iwo Jima became casualties. Japanese losses were even more devastating. Of the approximately 21,000 defenders, almost all were killed. Only a few hundred were captured alive. Iwo Jima became the only major battle in the Pacific where American casualties exceeded those of the enemy. It was a victory, but one bought at an extraordinary price. Unlike Okinawa, Iwo Jima had no civilian population during the battle. Residents had been evacuated earlier. Still, the human tragedy was immense. The Japanese soldiers, many of them young conscripts, fought knowing they would never return home. General Kuribayashi himself died in the final days, reportedly leading his men in combat. He never committed suicide, and his body was never found. The battle demonstrated the extreme lengths to which Japan was willing to go to defend its territory. For American leaders, it was a terrifying preview of what an invasion of the Japanese mainland might look like. The lessons of Iwo Jima went far beyond the island itself. U.S. military planners studied the battle carefully. If capturing a small island required such enormous sacrifice, what would it cost to invade Japan, a nation with millions of soldiers and civilians prepared to resist? These questions weighed heavily on decision-makers in the months that followed. Iwo Jima, along with Okinawa, played a direct role in shaping the decision to use atomic weapons to end the war quickly. The airfields captured on Iwo Jima proved their value almost immediately. Thousands of damaged B-29 bombers made emergency landings there, saving countless lives. Today, Iwo Jima stands as a solemn reminder of war's cost. The flag-raising image remains one of the most powerful symbols of American military history, but it often overshadows the suffering behind it. Veterans of Iwo Jima carried the memories for the rest of their lives. Many spoke not of heroism, but of loss, fear, and brotherhood forged in unimaginable conditions. The island itself is still marked by remnants of the battle, rusting weapons, tunnels, and silent scars in the rock. It remains a place of reflection for both Americans and Japanese. The Battle of Iwo Jima was not just a military operation. It was a test of endurance, strategy, and human will. It showed the lengths nations would go to defend their ideals and the terrible price paid by those sent to fight. In the end, Iwo Jima stands as a warning and a lesson. It reminds us that victory can come at a devastating cost, and that behind every famous photograph and historic milestone are thousands of individual stories of courage, sacrifice, and loss. To understand Iwo Jima is to understand the true nature of war, not as a tale of triumph, but as a profound human tragedy that forever changed the course of history.